What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 13 of Pay to Glory. So Futmas has arrived. Futmas is here. So every day we're seeing 3 premium SBC players as well as a premium pack. So some of the better packs. So day 1 was a mega pack. So some really cool stuff as we head into Christmas. What you guys are going to see today is basically an entire Division 5 run. So my entire Division 5 run as we go through and try to move up to Division 4. So we've got a lot of games in today's episode. In the last episode, you guys saw our first game from Division 5. But as you guys know from the last episode, we had some issues with files corrupting. I don't know what's been happening with my Elgato. What I've been doing is I've been taking the footage and putting it onto an external hard drive instead of the hard drive on my laptop, because the laptop's not that big. And somewhere along the way between that file transition, there seems to be some issues regarding I guess the connectivity of my USB or something along the lines, but it seems to be causing some issues in terms of some of the games will like corrupt and the entire file corrupts. So it looks like it'll cut out, it looks like the video will freeze, and then it basically corrupts that entire file. So what I've learned to do is I'm essentially taking every single game, stopping the recording, and then restarting the recording once the next game's there, and just hoping that individual game, so we're not losing 10 games on the bounce like in the last video, but the odd game here and there you know, has been annoying because it'll go missing. So our first game actually here is our second game of Division 5, which we end up winning. But the third game I played yesterday, I actually did the Cesar Azpilicueta SBC. So unfortunately, annoying enough too, that file corrupted because whatever reason, I guess the connectivity of my actual USB just caused it to glitch out and the file was totally corrupt, so I can't actually show you the SBC, but it was really expensive. It did cost about 200K to do that Cesar Azpilicueta. It required a lot of high-rated cards. I had to use my David Silva that I got, as well as a couple other pretty high-rated cards. I think I had a couple 87s in there, a lot of 86s, and then we had to go buy Javier Pastore's inform cards. So again, it ended up costing us about 200K. You guys will eventually see Cesar Azpilicueta's Futmas card in there. What I will say is that card, I don't know if it's worth the coins, especially considering how close it was to the main card, but it is an awesome card. So I do really enjoy him in the back. He's rapid, especially with that shadow card on him. He's super quick, so I do recommend having fast defenders, and I do recommend doing him if you have the coins, but I wouldn't break the bank to do it. I kind of broke the bank a little bit because I used up a lot of the cards that I just had sitting in my club that we probably could have used for Henrik Larsson's SBC when that comes out, for example. That's the one that I really want from Prime SBC Icons. But unfortunately, all that footage got corrupted, and then we ended up going into our first game, and we ended up beating the guy 5-1. But because there was something, I don't know what happened with the actual game, but as soon as the game was done at 5-1, right at the end, you know when it kind of pans through the stadium and it shows the actual stadium and it has the 18 pulsating in the bottom, and then eventually the menus pop up, that just never really connected into the menus, and the menus just never showed up, and then eventually it just says you've been disconnected from the server. So I got booted out and I go back in and I got a DNF. So I didn't have any issues with connectivity from my connection personally because I went back in, everything was solid. But something happened. I don't know if it was just because Futmas was overwhelming the servers or something like that, but it looks like it just didn't. It looks like it just booted me from the servers for some bizarre reason. So unfortunately for me and for the series, we lost that game, which was frustrating because that was, you know, you don't get too many 5-1 wins now. I mean, once you start hitting the top half of the divisions, you're coming up against some really good teams, and you know, it's not like you just get 5-6-1 wins every single day, especially if, you know, you're not a pro player. So there's some really good players out there, so I was really happy with that win. I would have really liked to have been able to share it with you guys. Also, after that, we ended up going in and playing a couple other games too, and I think we drew 3 on the bounce or something like that. So we were like 3 wins and 3 draws and a loss, and the loss was that single loss that we got from the DNF. But the draws were very frustrating. I'd almost rather lose than draw, as silly as that sounds. I know for seasons you really want to have those draws because the point can mean a lot, but I just find them really annoying. I just feel like nothing got settled, and I'd rather go into the extra time and just, you know, try to eke out the win. Because a lot of the times when we're playing in these games that end up drawing, I feel like I get better as the game goes on, and I start to adapt to my opponents really well, and I feel really confident about the ability to go in there in extra time and win a game. So it's frustrating that I wasn't able to do that in a lot of these games, but so be it. The one draw that I really wish we would have captured that got corrupted was I played a guy who had a full PSG squad, and his PSG team had Neymar, it had Edison Cavani, it had the ones to watch Mbappe, the striker one that's totally jacked up. He had Pastore, Pat de Glory, Marquinhos, Thiago Silva. Like, the team was just full out PSG with, I think, one or two other guys in there. But the team was just totally jacked up. They were an awesome team, and he went up 3-0 actually, and I just thought it was game over because his team was just so overpowered. I just didn't think I had a chance, and he was just playing everything he touched. It felt like playing a full icon team. I just felt very helpless, but then I just decided to really amp up the offense in the second half, and we ended up pulling it back with 3 really beautiful goals, and I actually felt like I could probably win it if we were to go into extra time, but unfortunately it finished 3-3. And don't get me wrong, I was really happy with it being 3-3 because there's a very good chance that I, you know, potentially couldn't have even gotten a point out of that game. But it was just one of those games where I'd rather have seen a result rather than the 3-3. So anyway, back to the gameplay. So I just wanted to apologize. You guys are missing a couple of the games and the start of it. So I'm going to try and figure out what's going on. I don't know whether if I have to just start recording stuff right onto my hard drive again. But I don't want to start losing stuff because it makes the series look sketchy. I don't want it to look like I'm ducking anything or doing anything shady like that, even though it's called Pay to Glory. So I put money on it. It's not like I'm above doing, you know, anything to improve the series, but I try to capture. I want to capture everything, so you guys are seeing what I'm actually doing as a FUT veteran. I want you guys to see, you know, the amount of times that I'm in the game and actually playing games online, and how I'm playing, and, you know, my style of gameplay. So that's the whole point of the series, is to capture everything. So I don't want to be missing things, and I don't want holes in the series. So hopefully we'll figure that out really quickly. That first game, though, as we go back into the gameplay, that first game that you guys saw, we did end up winning 5-2. And then we come back into the series. So this is the first half of this was when I started noticing that the footage was getting corrupt. So you missed the first half of it. This guy's team, he had a really kind of spammy team. But his 2 goals, with all due respect to this guy, like, I don't really know. I should have captured it in the replay here, but I didn't notice the footage was corrupted till after. But his 2 goals were caused by errors in the game. So the first one, I was, and I wish I would have captured it. The first one, I had it in my defense, and I tried to pass it up into the middle to Bakayoko, or not Bakayoko, to Dembele, who's my CDM, and instead it went laterally to Bailly, and his striker was right there, just collected the ball, turned, and just passed it into the net. Like, I'm like, why would I ever pass it to Bailly? He was just standing right next to the striker. It was really stupid. But maybe you can blame me for that. But it was just, I didn't identify properly. Like, there was no reason. I wouldn't point to Bailly if I needed to, you know, keep it away from his striker. I wanted to go up the field, not back to my center back. But whatever, I could have lived with that one. But then the second one, he got the ball at the top of the box, and I think it was with Salah, and he turned away, and the computer lunged and tackled him from behind and gave away a penalty. Like, I wasn't even controlling the defender. So both of his goals, it was very frustrating. I don't know what was going on, but it was just so annoying because it was 2-2, and then I had to pull it back to 4-2, and then he ended up quitting because he got mad. But it was just frustrating because that's the type of stuff that could cost you a win, especially in like a FUT Champs game. So really annoying. I'm happy we got the win, but, you know, it is what it is. And unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see the whole thing. You got to see a couple of the highlight goals. He ended up giving the ball away at the end there to Lacazette, who just pounded into the empty net. That made it 3-2. And then I think the fourth goal there was that final one that you guys saw from the live gameplay. So we ended up winning 4-2, and he did end up quitting out the game. So this is the next game we come up against. This guy had a full BPL team, 4-3-2-1, and this was probably the most exciting game of FIFA that I played. Probably the most, I guess, fair game or even game that I've had the entire year. So as we started off, you could tell this guy was a really good player. He just attacked really well. We got lucky. I want to say lucky, but I mean, we did deserve that first goal there. A nice little pass in from De Bruyne, and I believe it was Lacazette who put it in, so it was not right off kickoff, but pretty quickly after that. And then he comes down the field and he launches this ball in, gets across, and Martial with the header. You know, the headers have been really annoying. I get very frustrated with the headers, but especially now that they've got that Andy Carroll Futmas reward thing for scoring header goals. People are just launching in crosses more than ever, and it's causing problems. That is a clip that I wanted to make sure that you guys include, because I want you guys to take note of what Eric Bailly does here. This happens multiple times in this game. I don't know if the guy just knew how to abuse this tactic, but my defender was just standing there, and I don't know if it was on jockey or what happened, but watch what he does. He just walks right by him. Look at this. Eric Bailly just runs, like he just stands there and just runs right past him. Doesn't put a tackle in, doesn't do anything. And those are the most frustrating things right now for me in FIFA. They've been happening a lot, just guys running right past the ball. Not necessarily if the guy's got a step on him, but when you're right in front of the guy and he just comes and, you know, runs past it and your guy just kind of steps forward and doesn't do anything. You can't put in a manual tackle because he'll give away a penalty. So you're forced to kind of pseudo-jockey, but jockey doesn't really work as well as it has in the past, which is okay. They kind of dumbed it down because they overcompensate, but I don't really know how to defend those. You have to kind of manually just jockey the guy and just stay in front of him. But there's so many times where I'm manually jockeying and then they'll just kind of shift like this and the guy will just run by again. So I've been trying to figure out what to do with that, but it's been so aggravating for me because it happens multiple times in this game, let alone over the course of my FIFA 18 experience so far. But back to the gameplay. This game went back and forth. Kevin De Bruyne was on fire in this game. I think this was his next goal where this happens again. He plays the ball into Herrera, and look at again. Look at that. Like, I think I was holding jockey there, but he just basically let him run past it. So that was me manually trying to jockey him, whereas the first one, I think it was the computer that was just didn't identify anything. So this one I was holding manual jockey because you can see the cursor over the ball, but he was just I was just holding it right here, right here, right here, and then he just doesn't do anything. He just basically lets him walk by. So again, I don't want to put in tackles there because tackles will just give away penalties. So I don't know if I have to tackle. You guys could maybe tell me like what I can change. And then this was the other thing I know I sound a bit like a whiny bitch here by saying this, but the other thing that I wanted to address was people shooting out of nowhere. So when you've got really good positioning, this isn't necessarily the best case of this, but this happens a lot more when guys are outside the box, and I don't know if it's because low driven's broken, but when you've got really good position and just the shot, you know, the guy doesn't necessarily have a great shot, but he'll just hit it on net and just kind of finds its way into the back of the net. That's happened quite a few times to me. Maybe it's even happened for me, but it's something that I'd like to see EA get rid of whether it's for you or against you. Just when guys they don't have an opportunity, they're just in front of a defender and there's a bunch of guys and there's the keeper and, you know, a whole bunch of obstacles between you and you're actually defending it properly and the guy just hits shoot. So if this game was just totally offline and it was in career mode, I get it. You'd add a little bit of variety, especially against the computer. It would add a little bit of spontaneity to the game, and that would be great in terms of making it unpredictable. But when you're trying to make the game an esport, which I know a lot of people say they complain about and they use that as a bit of a crutch, I think that you need to remove that stuff from the online gameplay, especially when it's competitive gameplay, like FUT Champs and whatnot. If you have things where a guy can just score and the game determines when the goal is scored, not when the actual guy determines when the game's scored. Like if you're defending it properly, that's stuff you got to get rid of because you can't have a truly fair game if the game's going to determine, you know, when a guy scores. This was another annoying one where again I was trying to jockey. I didn't want to put in a tackle and he just ends up cutting back and forth, and it was very frustrating because it might not show it in this, but I read the thing really well. I knew he was going to cut back in. He's not going to take it with Martial's left. I knew he was going to cut back in, but again, Dembele just stands there. And I didn't want to put in a tackle again. Maybe I need to learn how to put in tackles, but this was a perfect example. If I would have put in a manual tackle right here, I knew he was cutting across, but my player just stood there, and if I would have put in a manual tackle, he would have kicked out his legs, and it would have been a penalty. So just very frustrating in that sense. You know, so this game ends up 5-4 at the end here. I was thinking, oh my god, I'm going to probably lose to this, and it was such a great game. I deserve a better result. I thought I had an opportunity there with Lacazette, which was really frustrating. But Kevin De Bruyne comes up big right at the end there. We slipped in a little ball in behind and was able to slip it past the keeper, thank God. The Lacazette one was more annoying to me because I thought Lacazette had that for sure. He had a wide open net and he just ends up scuffing it wide of the post. So all I cared about right now was just getting the result. So I thought we actually had another opportunity here, but he takes out my Griezmann there. That was a goal, guaranteed. I know the game well enough to know that when you start ping-ponging the ball back and forth, especially this late in the game in the 90th minute, if he would have played that ball, he had a wide open lane into the goal. All I would have had to do was hit shoot and it would have found the back of the net. Very rarely does that get saved, especially if you hit a finesse into the corner. In the 90th minute, that's a goal. So vet move on his part or just a panic tackle, one of the two. But I mean, that ended up probably saving him the 5-5 result. I think that was a pretty just result considering how back and forth this game was. 5-5 was probably the most exciting game I played all year. Guy was a really good player, deserved the result, but with that being said, I would have loved to, you know, cheeky sneak that little result in there in my favor. So we end up getting another draw. So the draws have just been so annoying. So we go to 3-3-1 there. With the draws because we had the two before that didn't get captured, and then we had our first win against the Toronto FC player, and then we had the other win against the guy that ended up quitting out, so 3-3-1, and then we came up against this opponent who had a 4-3-3 with the CDM there. He had Gareth Bale and Ousmane Dembele, and then I think it's William Jose is the striker there. That back line was pretty weak, so I wasn't feeling too concerned about this team. This guy, you know, came up against, you know, probably what he thought was a much better team, but this was actually a game that didn't end up lasting that long. So as soon as the game kicks off, I was, you know, on the attack. It was kind of back and forth, a little bit of a feeling out process. I got my attack and my opportunity with Antoine Griezmann. Lay it off to, I believe it's De Bruyne, and De Bruyne lays it off to Griezmann. Griezmann rockets it into the top corner, and then unfortunately for this guy, he ends up getting, he ends up losing connection. So right there, he just ends up losing it. I thought we were getting another one of those issues like I had earlier on, where maybe the servers are going down, but thank God, as soon as this screen comes up, you know that you're pretty much good to go. So we do end up getting the win. I'm very happy that I was able to get that early goal there in the 10th minute, because I know that if we would have gotten a draw out of there, it would have been lights out for us winning the title. And then we come into our second last game, which is against this guy. He had the Fire kit and he had a full Serie A team. So this guy had, I think it's Adrian Silva, his team of the group stage card. He had Dries Mertens, he had Gomez, which is maybe the most overused strike combo, not the Adrian Silva part, but the Dries Mertens and Gomez combo up front. He had Marek Hamsik, Marquisio Matuidi, and then Koulibaly, Manolas, Florenzi, and I think it's Dalbert with Reina in net. So that is a very, very good team, a very OP Serie A team. And what I'll say before you guys see the result or any of the gameplay is this was maybe the toughest game that I had the entire day. I had a hard time generating offense against this guy. This guy was a really good player. Even though I get the opening goal there, you know, obviously it was a little lucky with the shot across body, knocks up, and then Lacazette's there to head in the goal. This guy, after this goal, I don't know what he did, if he just went ultra attacking, but it didn't feel like his team was just pushing up that much, but he was just hemming me into my own end. It was causing a lot of problems, and he had some really good opportunities, but it was just a lot of that. It was his defenders too, his center backs, Koulibaly and Manolas, just super OP, like super OP. Their interceptions were all over the place. Like, he was just taking the ball from almost every pass that I had. What he was doing was he was aggressively moving forward with his center backs. He probably should have scored there. But he was moving up with his center backs. He was coming to try to intercept the ball, and usually I'm able to prevent that from happening by kind of 1-2ing your way in around it, because usually when guys pull out of their center backs, they come forward and they shoot forward, and you're able to send a guy in behind, make a outlet pass, and then send a guy in behind. But for some reason, his center backs were just, even though they were marauding forward, they were just intercepting passes. So they'd come beelining, and they would intercept the pass at the same time. So I just couldn't get past them. Like, his center backs, he was pulling them so far forward, but I just couldn't get behind them. Like, they were just stealing every ball and then getting in behind. It felt like he had 4 guys back all the time. So as you guys see from the highlights, there wasn't really a whole lot to tell. You know, a lot of the gameplay was in the midfield, so it wasn't really that exciting in terms of the actual game, but it was maybe the most hard I'd have to fight the entire year to get any result from a game, because he was just so aggressive with his defense, and his defense was just so overpowered. So we do get the draw. We get that point that that promotes us, but we need 3 more points in order to win the division. We come up against this guy, another Serie A team, but he's playing a 4-1-2-1-2 wide with Eder as the cam for whatever reason. But again, Dries Mertens and Gomez again up front, Manolas in the back line with Florenzi. So I was a little concerned when I saw this. I just thought, oh man, this might be a little bit of a tough game, especially when, you know, I see the rating, I see the composition of the team. This guy looks like he knows what he's doing. With all due respect to this guy, probably the weakest opponent we played in today's episode. He just rushed forward with his players all the time. I thought I had a goal here. He misses the net, Koke. I saw a thread on Reddit actually that said when your guy's offside that you basically have 100% shooting, which usually is the case. I thought that was always true, but I didn't think that rang very true here when my guy misses the ball there, or misses the goal, so that was very frustrating. But this guy wasn't great defensively. That really frustrated me too, like that pass in from Griezmann. It felt like, again, like my team's morale was starting to take effect, like they were just missing opportunities left and right. But this guy defensively, he just ran forward. He would just draw his guys out of position. I thought it's only a matter of time before I break this guy down, and every time he gets the ball, he would just sprint. He'd try to weave run like guys used to do very early on in the game. Unfortunately for us, we get a red card with Hector Bellerin, which was really frustrating because I hit slide before he made that last cut, and once the guy started going down, he made a cut to the right, and I knew that it was game over from there, because now at that point I'm not going to be able to get the ball. Like, I never slide tackle guys, almost ever, maybe once or twice, but that was not a case where I wanted to take the guy out. I just wanted to get the ball. But when I hit slide and there was a little bit of a delay between when he actually went down to the ground, the guy made a cut, he ends up taking the legs out, and unfortunately I get a red card. So very frustrating, because that will just leave you at a bit of a disadvantage. I've always said, especially in previous FIFAs, that it's actually probably gives your players a little bit of a boost. So it's pretty rare that you actually get to take advantage of another guy getting a red card. Your team doesn't seem to really get hurt by it. And in that case, there we were able to get a penalty out of it. That was just because the guy made a bad mistake with a slide tackle in the box. But it wasn't really too much of a struggle playing against this guy. It just wasn't able to score any goals. I just was having a hard time actually putting the ball into the back of the net. I felt like my team was going to eventually get some results here, but you can see things like that. Like, you know, a really good FIFA player is probably going to he's probably going to make something out of that. He's probably going to get a bit more of a better clear shot. He's going to be able to take advantage of that 2-1 instead of just rush a shot. So when I hit the second goal, when I scored the second goal here, I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling pretty confident that I was going to be able to win this. But this guy's team was just, it was just obnoxiously persistent. They just kind of kept coming. He wasn't really getting great chances, but it was just enough that it was annoying. So unfortunately, that bounce there drew it back to 2-1, but I was, you know, at this point, I didn't really care about scoring a bunch of goals, because it was just one of those games that you felt wasn't really going to go your way in like a 10-1 victory. It was just going to be, one of those games where you just have to grind out a result. So unfortunately, we only get the 2-1 win. It probably should have been worse considering the quality of the opponent. But at this point, all I cared about was getting the win. So we do end up winning the division. We end up getting promoted, but we do it by winning it. So that's all I cared about, because we get the 7,000 coins, I think it is, for winning that division. So we're going to move up and get promoted from Division 5 up to Division 4. So that's going to be the end of the episode, guys. If you guys could leave a like on the video, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all your guys' support. And until episode 14, guys, take care. Peace.